Money never disappeared. It escaped. That was the lie he believed for years, that money simply vanished without explanation. One month it was there, the next it was gone, and no matter how hard he worked, the result was always the same. He was a barber, paid daily, cash in hand, and still always broke. Not reckless, not lazy, just confused. Every small expense felt harmless, a coffee here, a snack there, something quick between clients, nothing worth tracking, nothing worth worrying about. Until the day he finally wrote everything down. Every dollar, every coin, every small expense. That simple act did what years of effort never could. It showed him the truth. Before we continue, like, subscribe, and share this video. It helps this message reach people who feel like money disappears without a trace. Now, stay with the full story. His name was Marcus Reed, and he was 38 years old. Marcus lived in Baltimore, Maryland, above the barber shop where he worked. The apartment was small, but practical. One bedroom, a narrow kitchen, a window that looked down at the street where customers parked their cars. Convenience mattered when your days were long and your income depended on showing up. Marcus had been a barber for almost 15 years. He was good at it. Loyal clients, full chair most days, tips and cash. Some weeks were excellent. Other weeks slowed down without warning. The money came in constantly, just not predictably. That unpredictability shaped his life. Marcus didn't have a salary, no fixed paycheck. He earned what he cut. On busy days, he felt confident. On slow days, he felt exposed. He paid his rent, he paid his bills, but saving never stuck. Money felt slippery. He would finish a long day, count the cash in his pocket and feel relieved. Then, somehow, a few days later, that relief was gone. The money hadn't gone to anything dramatic, no big purchases, no obvious mistakes, just life. Coffee between clients, lunch ordered instead of cooked, snacks, drinks, small conveniences, gas, apps, just this once. Marcus hated budgeting. He believed it wasn't made for people like him, people with irregular income, people paid in cash, people whose money moved fast. He told himself tracking was for people with salaries and spreadsheets. Still, the stress crept in. Some nights, after closing the shop and sweeping the floor, Marcus sat alone in the chair and wondered how he could work so much and still feel behind. He wasn't irresponsible. He wasn't careless. He was unaware. Every dollar that entered his life left without being noticed. And when money leaves unnoticed, it always leaves faster than expected. Marcus didn't know yet that his breakthrough wouldn't come from earning more clients or raising prices. It would come from seeing the money he already had, clearly, honestly, without excuses. And that would require him to do something he had avoided for years. Write it down. Every single dollar. Marcus's problem wasn't spending too much at once. It was spending without awareness. Because his money came in daily and often in cash, it never felt finite. There was always more coming tomorrow. Another client, another tip, another good day to make up for a slow one. That belief was dangerous. It allowed small expenses to slip through unnoticed, not because they were irresponsible, but because they felt insignificant. $5 here, $10 there, something quick between cuts, something easy on the way home. Each expense felt harmless on its own. Together, they were draining him. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. It wasn't a bad day. The shop was steady, he had a decent number of clients. When he counted his cash at closing, the number looked fine. But later that night, when he sat down to pay bills, something didn't add up. The money was already thin. Marcus stared at the numbers, then at the cash in his hand, trying to connect the two. He replayed the day in his head. Nothing big, nothing obvious, and that's when it hit him. He had no idea where his money actually went. not a feeling, not a guess, actual knowledge. That realization bothered him more than being broke, because if you don't know where your money goes, you can't control it, you can't plan, you can't improve, you can only react. That night, Marcus grabbed a small notebook from a drawer. Nothing fancy, just blank pages. At the top of the first page, he wrote the date. Then he wrote down what he had earned that day. Below it, he began listing everything he remembered spending: coffee, lunch, gas, a snack, another coffee. When he finished, the page looked heavier than he expected. The total shocked him, not because it was outrageous, but because it was invisible. Those small expenses were eating his income quietly every single day. Marcus realized he had been blaming low income for a problem that was actually low visibility. Money wasn't disappearing, it was leaking. And leaks are dangerous because they don't make noise. He didn't need a budget yet. He didn't need categories. He didn't need discipline. He needed awareness. So he made a decision that felt uncomfortable but necessary. Starting tomorrow, he would track everything. Every dollar earned, every dollar spent. No exceptions, no rounding, no it's too small to matter. If the money touched his hand, it went on paper. Marcus didn't know how hard this would be yet, but he knew one thing for sure: he was done guessing. Marcus didn't turn tracking into a system. He turned it into a habit. The rule was simple and almost boring. If money moves, it gets written down. No apps, no spreadsheets, no categories at first. Just a pen in the same small notebook he kept in his pocket. Every morning, before opening the shop, he wrote the date and started fresh. When a client paid, he wrote the amount. When he spent anything, he wrote it immediately. Coffee? Write it down. Parking meter? Write it down. Snack from the corner store? Write it down. At first, it felt annoying. He forgot sometimes, then remembered and wrote it late. He felt exposed seeing his habits on paper. Numbers don't judge, but they don't lie either. The first week was uncomfortable, not because the totals were shocking, but because the pattern was clear. His money wasn't being destroyed by one bad choice, it was being eroded by many small automatic ones. Tracking didn't stop him from spending, it slowed him down. Before buying something, he'd think, do I want to write this down? Sometimes the answer was yes, sometimes it wasn't. That pause was powerful. By the second week, Marcus started to see something else. Some days were actually good. He had always believed he never made enough, but now, on paper, he could see days where he earned solid money and kept most of it. The problem wasn't income, it was inconsistency. So he added one more line to the notebook. At the end of each day, he wrote a simple summary: earned, spent, kept. That was it. No judgment, no goals yet, just truth. Tracking turned his money from a blur into a story he could follow. He could see which days were strong, which days were weak, and why. He noticed how much cash spending hid reality, how easy it was to lose track when nothing was recorded, how clarity alone began changing his behavior. Marcus didn't restrict himself, he observed himself. And observation, repeated daily, began to do what discipline never could. It gave him control. Not control through force, but control through visibility. For the first time in years, Marcus wasn't guessing where his money went. He knew. And knowing changed everything. The biggest change wasn't in Marcus's bank account. It was in his decisions. Tracking every dollar made him present with his money in a way he had never been before. Spending stopped being automatic. Earning stopped being abstract. Everything became connected. Marcus began to notice patterns. Certain days always cost more. Certain habits always followed long shifts. Certain expenses showed up when he was tired, not when he actually needed something. Awareness replaced impulse. He didn't stop buying coffee, he stopped buying it without thinking. Some days he wrote it down and smiled. Other days he skipped it and felt just as fine. The difference was choice. Within a month, something unexpected happened. He had money left at the end of the week. Not because he earned more, not because he restricted himself, because leaks had slowed. Marcus took that extra money and didn't spend it. He moved it into a separate account, not a full savings plan yet, just a place where money could sit without being touched. Seeing that balance grow, even slowly, was motivating. But the real shift came emotionally. He stopped saying, "I don't know where my money goes." Now he did. And that knowledge removed a huge mental weight. Money no longer felt like a mystery working against him. It felt like something he could understand and influence. He also noticed how tracking changed his work. On slow days, he didn't spiral. He knew slow days happened. On busy days, he didn't celebrate by spending everything. He recorded, closed the day, and moved on. Tracking gave him rhythm. He added one more habit, a weekly review. Once a week, he sat down for 10 minutes and looked back at the pages. No judgment, just observation. What worked? What leaked? What stayed? Those questions quietly refined his behavior. Marcus didn't become perfect, but he became consistent, and consistency began to compound. Marcus never became obsessed with money. He became aware of it. And that awareness changed his entire relationship with work, spending, and stress. Tracking every dollar didn't make him rich overnight. It didn't turn his life into a spreadsheet. It didn't remove every financial problem. What it did was remove the fog. For years, Marcus had been fighting an invisible enemy. He blamed low income, bad months, slow seasons. But the real problem had been much quieter. Money moving without being seen. Once he started tracking, money stopped slipping through his fingers unnoticed. It had to pass through his awareness first. That changed everything. He realized that discipline isn't about restriction, it's about attention. When you pay attention, behavior adjusts naturally. You don't need punishment, you don't need shame, you need truth. The moral of Marcus's story is simple and powerful. You can't control what you refuse to see. Tracking every dollar doesn't mean you'll spend less every day. It means every decision becomes intentional instead of accidental. Marcus stopped feeling broke even before his savings grew, because feeling broke isn't just about numbers, it's about confusion, and clarity is calming. With time, his tracking habit became lighter. He knew his patterns, he knew his weak points, he knew his strong days. The notebook stopped being work and became a tool, a mirror. And mirrors don't judge, they reveal. Marcus didn't change who he was, he changed what he paid attention to, and that was enough. Before you leave, like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this message reach people who feel like money disappears without explanation. And remember this advice, money doesn't vanish, it escapes when it isn't watched.